A debt crisis is on the horizon, and it's not limited to increasing prices of goods and services as well as commodities like silver or the total amount of debt and deficit expenditure. In this video, I'll define terms as we go along with our exploration. Yeah, silver's worth goes beyond its monetary value. To many of you, I'm sure you're sick of hearing me bring that up. Silver, on the other hand, is rather stable, with the exception of the annual fluctuations in supply caused by mining. In fact, that is the very essence of the video series Debt Clock and Silver that we are about to share with you. At this very moment, let's examine the debt. The astonishing amount is almost $37.4 trillion, and it's worth noting that this problem is bipartisan by any standard. Sure thing. No one person or group can be held solely responsible. But still, everyone is accustomed to government expenditure, and even Elon Musk, paraphrased, claims that sending a spaceship to Mars would be easier than cutting spending in Washington. But this is the situation we're in, you guys. Also, most politicians don't appear to care about this, even though it appears to be a crisis to me. Perhaps that is all in preparation for what is to come. Eventually, we're going to have to settle this in some way. Now, I recently shared a video featuring hedge fund billionaire Ray Dalio discussing gold and disaster preparedness. A debt crisis or economic catastrophe can strike suddenly like a heart attack. It can appear out of nowhere and surprise you. In fact, anything could happen at any given time. It appears that the powder keg is present. Would you happen to know when and how? People have been making that prediction for a long time. The ratio of silver is more indicative of economic health than the price of silver, but both should be considered simultaneously. That is the central theme of this series. This is a method of comparing silver prices to the money supply, which provides a more accurate picture of the current state of affairs. $1,221 is the current price. It's the ratio of the world's silver production in ounces to these Federal Reserve notes per ounce of mined silver. Yes, I understand. We are examining those metrics at this point. So, to rephrase, this is the growth of the money supply in the United States from one year to the next. Formula: M2 money supply divided by global silver production in ounces per year. I think we should check it out. This is Fred, the storyteller from the Federal Reserve, St. Louis Fed. Here we can observe that it is once again rising. For an extremely brief moment, it ceased. More than anything else, quantitative tightening was really a quantitative halt. During that time, there was a brief halt in the money supply's decline, plus it has recently increased at a faster rate than it did in June of 2022, when inflation was at its maximum. The Federal Reserve will, without a doubt, soon decrease interest rates. That much is certain. However, will they keep printing money? Without a doubt. The next step is to compare that data with the USGS report, which details the annual silver mining output in the US and other countries. In addition, we may observe the current state of affairs and the level of production. That is the source of these numerical values. That is the result of dividing the increase in the money supply, M2, by the total ounces of silver produced worldwide each year. There is a limit to how much they can mine, but they can create digital dollars whenever they want. Backside matted. That's a lot more difficult for them to print out. We could just fire up the printers and get it done, but they could just scan it instead, and it would be a breeze for them. Therefore, absolutely nothing exists. In contrast, the mining process for 1 ounce of silver requires an enormous amount of time and energy, although there is essentially no material cost involved. This is the reason behind the current ratio. The fact that the silver market is so complicated and full of derivatives makes it impossible to determine an item's actual worth by looking at its price alone. Futures, options, exchange-traded funds, and similar products are available, as is the case with the majority of things. You should always have actual silver on hand, since all that complexity is merely exposure to market or metal investors or the metal's price, not to the metal itself. You must have that in your stack at all costs. Plus, I think having it is worth the extra money. Naturally, we are currently witnessing a further increase in the price, As I've recorded this video, we're way above a 14-year high. An ounce of it is now worth more than $42. When will it end? How long will it last? Plus, the day when some individuals can buy silver for $50 is almost here. It happened not long ago, you know. If you had claimed it would happen immediately, they would have thought you were insane. No longer, though. We have entered a new reality, and this is it. When compared to other commodities and gold, the price of silver is grossly inaccurate. That is the market's behavior, even when other factors are included. As it is, that is all. I believe it's important to conduct your homework and know who you're dealing with when buying or selling silver. And that's why we need to consider more than just pricing when dealing with silver. Summit Metals is the channel sponsor. They are an excellent business. In addition to selling silver, they also buy it from you, and their customer service is superb. Take a look at them. You can find the prices posted on their Sell to Us site the next time you visit. Take a look at Summit Metals though. However, solidity is often conjured up in our minds when we consider silver. We consider an entity that can respond to its surroundings. Yes, I understand. If there is sulfur in the air, it will tone down. There are additional methods by which it can detect or, deal with surfaces. Despite the fact that certain elements can affect just a small number of molecules or atoms, silver remains a rather stable element according to the periodic table, the most flexible and reflecting of all the materials. Because of this, it is highly valued in modern society. It has more than 10,000 applications. Plus, why does our government persist in its actions? I suppose it's for the best that it remains low-key, at least in part, due to the fact that there are plenty of imposters out there who are leading people astray from real, sustainable wealth. Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution states that the only money that shall be legal tender shall be gold and silver. Money is silver. This money is currently lying idle. Regardless, the federal deficit budget is over $11.9 trillion, and the debt is climbing to $37.427 trillion. At 1333.85, the debt to GDP ratio tells you all you need to know about how quickly this is moving. There we have the numbers used during the fight. That is the type of spending that is currently taking place. And when weighed against the total amount of expenditure, Doge's efforts to reduce costs are insignificant. The pace is too much for them. Spending continues. Time is running out on the Doge clock, but it's clear that this isn't going to work, so something has to give. And there may be an impending catastrophe. We might already be involved, but we don't realize it just yet. Silver, on the other hand, will remain physically unchanged, even as its price is beginning to reflect some of the external events. There are a lot of us who think the price should be substantially higher than it is. That won't happen for a long time though, because you have to know your way around the markets. So, what's the takeaway here? What this signifies is that the value of the dollar is going down. Here we have inflation. So much so that the debt clock estimates a 96.23% decline in value from 1913. However, I have something to tell you. On my opinion, that's a bit of a lowball estimate. In my opinion, its value has dropped by about 98% since then. Plus, with gold's current price, it's hard to make an informed decision when compared to other precious metals. Looking at the dollar to silver ratio during the last 5 years, it's even higher when compared to silver, but I'm telling you nevertheless, 1 ounce costs $1,556. This means our current course is unsustainable, but it has the potential to continue for a long time. Why? Reason being, among all currencies, the dollar reigns supreme. There is absolutely no comparison. So, this video takes a somewhat different tack. I pray this movie has been enlightening, helpful, and instructive for you. Additionally, my goal in writing this is to provide you with up-to-date information, analysis, and viewpoints regarding precious metals. Silver is the case here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could consider subscribing to the channel if you find value in my content. Strive to increase the channel's viewership by bringing you these videos. The fact that you all subscribe and watch the videos means the world to me. With that being said, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate it if you could subscribe, like, and share the video. This was transcribed using turboscribe.ai. To get rid of this message, go for unlimited.